Right then, 2 days away, Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. We now know this is going to be the top of the bill. So this will be the last fight on the card. The last to walk on the card will be Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. Right, let's have a look at Otto Wallin. Now, I think they picked Otto Wallin for this fight. One of the main reasons Otto Wallin got picked for this fight, other than his name and his reputation, the main reason I think Otto Wallin was the perfect opponent for Joshua in this fight was he's a non-puncher, essentially. He's a non-puncher. Looking at his previous fights, if you look at, to me, the Gassiev fight was a weird fight for me. It was almost like two guys with a gentleman's agreement who were going to have a move about for a payday, because in that, Wallin there was nothing really of any meat behind anything he threw. He had a busy jab, but never anything that would deter anyone or keep them offset or sort of deter them to come forward anyway. It was a really sort of weird fight for me. I kind of discount that in a sense. To me, when you want to see everything Wallin has got in his sort of, in his armory, to me, you must look at the Fury fights. It's his hardest fight. It's the fight where he got pushed hardest for me. And he did show a lot of qualities in that. Defensively, he's pretty good. He holds a nice, tight, high guard. He does get hit to the body a little bit. He does leave a bit of that sort of undefended, but he very rarely gets hit with the wide shots, other than when he gets his hands drew away from his face. He is susceptible to straight shots through the middle, from the jab and the backhand. Now, that's going to be a concern against Joshua. But equally, Joshua was against Helenius, got hit with sort of the long, straight shots through the middle, bloodied up in his nose and everything in that fight. Wallin does carry an element of arm punching about what he does. I sometimes think he lacks power because his technique when trying to set his feet is a little bit off. Sometimes he doesn't even look like he tries to set his feet, and there's an arm punch sort of about everything. There's no digging from the feet. There's no rotation through the hips and the shoulders. So very rarely does he get any real bite into his shots. And even against Fury in the later stages, when turned into a bit of a brawl, to be fair, even then when he was trying to really sit down and throw hard shots, sort of any rotation through your body that you would use to generate that real dog power, he just kind of lacked a bit of technique in that area. One thing he did show against Fury, though, he's got a fantastic gas tank. I mean, he was pushed at quite a pace, and for the last 4 rounds, Fury really stuck everything on him. And to be fair, at the end, I mean, there are elements where he's going to look tired in those rounds, but essentially, for the most part, he dealt with it pretty comfortably. By the end, there was never a sense of desperation that he was hanging on for dear life, at the end of that, in terms of sort of a gas tank point of view. He looks really strong in that area. Joshua will be by far the biggest puncher he has faced up till this point. For me, Tyson Fury, well, he isn't. Tyson Fury isn't an elite level puncher at heavyweight. Tyson Fury punches hard because he's, between an 18 and 20 stone man. Any man of that weight is going to punch hard. But if you rank Fury amongst other elite heavyweight punchers, he's not in there. I think in the Wallin fight, he weighed, I think maybe it was a career lightest, second lightest, I think Fury was. So around 18 something stone, but he wasn't at his heaviest. But he hit Wallin clean, and Wallin stood up to everything, to be fair. Never showed any sign of being sort of put out in any way. And Fury really worked him over for those last 4 rounds. Wallin has definitely got mettle. You cannot question that. He's a tough man. He's also, what I've noticed in quite a few of his fights, was evident in the Fury fight, he's a very good pro. What I mean by that is, now, as a southpaw, he doesn't do anything exceptionally from the southpaw stance, but he does know every little pro trick in the book. When he fought Fury, every little trick he could use to upset the cut and open up the cut even more, he did. From rubbing the head in, to rubbing the tape on the glove in, all these little illegal tricks that you learn through experience. He had all of them. So he's not green in any way, Wallin isn't. He's seasoned, to be fair. You can call him seasoned, definitely. he showed more ambition in the Fury fight than he did the Gassiev fight. And in some fights, he shows more ambition than others. And what I see in this fight is, if this fight goes past the midpoint and Joshua hasn't made any significant dent, his confidence will grow and his output will grow with it. So the problem is I certainly believe that Wallin finishes this fight. If this fight goes the distance, Wallin finishes this fight stronger than what Joshua does. His output almost seems to increase, and his level of fitness doesn't really seem undeterred by the length of rounds he goes, where Joshua, we have seen tire. Joshua can box. If Joshua boxes within himself on the 12-round distance, no problem. But when he's pressured and when he's forced, that's when you really see him sort of almost the mental energy, on top of the physical exertion. You really start to see him tire towards the end when he's pressured, which I believe if this fight goes past the midpoint is going to happen. Also with Joshua, in the Helenius fight, what was quite disturbing was, and by the end he was bloodied from the nose, little blood from the mouth. Joshua was easily hittable through the middle, really easily hittable through the long straight shots, which Wallin favour. So that doesn't bode too well. This is a close fight. Make no mistake. I would like to believe that Anthony Joshua could turn up with the spite and the devil that he had against Vladimir Klitschko or Dillian White, and come out with a savage, destructive power and sort of almost the abandon of his opponent, almost not caring what his opponent had, just intent in landing his damaging, devastating shots. He hasn't shown that in recent history, and I can only make this prediction on the most recent evidence at hand, and the most recent evidence at hand is not that. As you saw Wilder dispatch Helenius in a round, Joshua could have dispatched Helenius in a round. Now, Tony Bellew in commentary of that fight said he believed he wanted rounds, almost that he believed Joshua was carrying Helenius. I'm not so sure. I just think the problem of overthinking, I mean, when people talk about this, this mental problem, he's not mentally weak. The man does violence for a living. You're not mentally weak when you do violence for a living. Most of the people who say that have never seen any violence in their lives, so don't listen to that. Overthinker, yes. Aware of his own fragility in certain areas, yes. Weak-minded, no, definitely not. But to me, he could have dispatched Helenius in a round had he had that intent, and he didn't have that intent. Now, nothing would please me more, and there's nothing I want more to see that destructive intent in Joshua, but I haven't seen it up till now. Otto Wallin, to me, if this gets midpoint, and like I say, I would love to see an early destructive knockout by Joshua, but in reality, I just don't see it as being possible. This fight is going to go long and on points. And where this is the potential banana skin that everyone talks about is, for me, is when this fight goes past midpoint. Joshua hasn't made any significant dent or any enough of an impact to deter Wallin in any way, in which case Wallin grows in confidence. And as we've seen, even though he's not being a puncher, he is happy to train. He is happy to get down and dirty and get in the trenches and fight hard, which he will. And at that point, it's going to be a question of who wants it most. If Joshua hasn't hurt Wallin by that point, it might be unlikely that he will have enough to hurt Wallin at any point. And at that point, it becomes a who wants it most. If I had to put my house on it, I would say Joshua by points. Am I 100% certain? No. I would probably say 60-40 possibly, but expect this to be a hard fought 12-rounder and close and some scares along the way. Possibly fight of the night, certainly over the Wilder fight. In short, I pick Joshua. I'd like a knockout. I don't expect one. I expect points, but I expect close, and I expect scares, and I expect drama. And I hope we get it. Anyway, that's it. See you all soon. See you all soon Saturday night. We'll try and do some instant reaction. We'll do a little Baby Miller and Dubois build up. See you all soon. Peace.